Welcome, guys. We are back with another SJ Games Live. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Hunter.
What are we
Today
doing?
we're talking about some obstacles and dropped items. Some stuff that people have been wanting to talk about for the last few videos. We've been getting a lot of comments about, customizing the arena a bit more, because we did talk about terrain, and we're going to talk about a little bit more today. And some of the other stuff that people want to talk about.
Yeah, basically a lot of our demo games and streams so far have been on kind of open surfaces. So these are, we're going to talk today about things you can run over and run into, aside from other cars.
Yeah.
But including other cars.
Including other cars, yeah, that matters too. We'll talk about all the stuff in general. One thing I want to make a note of, we don't have tokens or templates for what we're trying to do here. That's why we haven't really been using them in videos, but we had enough questions to come up that we thought we should definitely cover it. So you're going to see us use stuff like dice to represent different items, things like that. So these aren't going to be anything close to final. We're using what we have. Like I said, we want to show you guys some more stuff, but everything is still kind of in development being worked on. So
Right. Some of these things are in later sets, or we just haven't produced that part of it yet.
Yeah.
So we'll be using some stand-ins today.
Yeah.
But we wanted you guys to know, before we left for the holidays, how this stuff works, so you can kind of get an idea of how that play is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start off with the basic stuff, something we kind of talked about before, which was terrain.
Terrain. All right, so if we can go down to our Wastelands map here, you've seen this in a couple videos so far. We've got, again, not final map, this is something we printed out in the office, but you can see we've got some nice highway roads here, kind of a lighter area on the side, and some more orangey off-road area over there. So generally what we've been doing, what you're going to do on a particular scenario, setup, map, whatever, is your map or your scenario is going to tell you what difficulty these terrains are. Mm-hmm. So by and large, like what we've been doing, what we did in the previous ones, we decided on this map that the roads were difficulty 0, which means normal driving here on the roads. That the light area on the sides of the roads here was difficulty 1 terrain, and that the very dark yellow on the past that was difficulty 2 terrain.
And what we mean by that, if you've missed any of those videos, which there are more coming for that involve terrain,
right,
is that when you drive on these, when you complete your maneuver, if you're overhanging any of that part of terrain, you roll additional dice.
Actually, anytime you complete a movement point.
Movement point, sorry, not an entire maneuver.
Yeah, anytime you complete a movement point, you check your car, and the highest level of terrain that you're over, you're going to add that to a driving roll.
So like if you just go, even if you go in a straight line, you're still going to have to roll a die if you land on that.
Right. You'll still make a driving roll, and for terrain, generally right now, it's each difficulty level is 1 blue die. So the blue car here is, if he moves 1 forward, is not going to have to make any die rolls because he's on difficulty 0 terrain. If red has gotten partially off of this onto the difficulty 1 terrain, he's going to have to roll 1 blue die, and even if he's rolling nothing else, he's going to make that as his driving roll at the end of that movement point. If he has decided to do a slide onto that terrain,
or a turn, or any kind of maneuver
that takes him out there, he'll add that to the difficulty of the maneuver that he has to roll.
Exactly.
And then green over here
Say it goes in a straight line here, even though it's only halfway on that, it's still going to have to make the roll for the more difficult terrain, which is 2. And again, same deal, if it does a turn, if it does an actual maneuver in addition, you're just adding the dice to what you're already rolling.
Right.
And if you're going in a straight line with even a slight turn, there's no...
You still make a driving roll.
Lose a skid. So that's generally what we've been doing. Again, we've done this in a couple videos already, if you go back and check those out, and we got a couple more coming out that'll highlight that a little bit more specifically. Yeah. There are items that might mitigate this, like I was using an advanced suspension that was allowing me to gain ace tokens based on the difficulty that I was on. So being on the 2 difficulty was challenging to drive on, but it was also giving me more ace tokens to defend with. There are other boons and stuff, the upgrades that affect it, can help you with the terrain, things like that.
Yeah, there's accessories and upgrades.
New tires, new suspensions, things like that.
That will interact with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but now you know where we're coming from with all this stuff if you've seen any of those videos. In addition, like Jimmy said earlier, you're kind of choosing, it's either scenario-based or you kind of generally, before the game starts, decide what is going to be what.
Or the map itself may have it printed on there.
Exactly, and we may even choose, like in a future game, just having this map, and not making it weird if we just want to make it no terrain or something like that, if you want to play that way. It's not required, but it adds another layer
Yeah,
to it. That
it
makes
adds
it
an
a little
element.
bit cool. Yeah, that's some.
All of these things add elements. You can
Exactly.
drive just in a flat parking lot. In fact,
Exactly.
we've done it for several maps, but you can also add these elements to make you make more decisions.
You can pick and choose the amount of complexity, essentially, is what we're at. Speaking of picking and choosing some complexity, let's talk about some of the additional things that we haven't done yet.
All right, well, let's go since we're talking about driving over stuff right now. One of the packs that has been unlocked already, I believe, includes dropped weapons. And
I'm really excited about that. This is one of the ones I've been waiting for.
So dropped weapons are equipment or weapons that leave something on the map when they are used. In this case, we're gonna say there's two general types that will fall into. One of those is one that will drop essentially some sort of card, some sort of flat piece that other cars will drive over, and much like terrain, if you end a movement point on that card, you're going to deal with the effects of that card, and it can do things like add dice to your driving roll. It may have other effects in there. We haven't seen the cards yet, but some of the things they could have, and again, this is possibilities. It could add dice to your driving roll. It could have some other just standard effect for being on it, maybe tire damage or automatic loss of control point, or add a die. Any number of things could happen, but those are things that they are treated much in the manner of trains. If you drive over them, you'll be affected by that particular drop weapon. The other type, Hunter, if you want to do this one.
Yeah, so light object, they'll drop.
This would be like mines or
Yeah.
another drop weapons that you collide with.
I don't want to specify the type necessarily because
Yeah.
everything could change on those
Yeah.
things. But these are going to drop objects you can collide with. So this will, in the sense that you can drive over the cards, these you'll actually run into, and will affect you in different ways. So
So it might be something that if you hit it, it does an explosion attack, or if you hit it, it does a D2 damage to that side of your car.
similar
or
to what these do. You're going to reference it based on the upgrade you actually chose.
Yeah.
It'll tell you what you drop in addition to what it actually does. Generally, these
But
things
mechanic is going to be it's something you actually collide with rather than drive over.
Exactly. For these things, generally, I think they do get pushed around for that. I guess it'll depend on.
It might get pushed around.
That.
It might go away once it hits. Depends on the specifics of what they're going to do.
I shouldn't say that that's going to specifically do any particular thing yet because these are all going to be different upgrades. But that's one of the most things I'm excited for in this game, other than like upgrading to be a ramming car. I want to drop like mines and spike strips and stuff like that. Like that sounds like a lot of fun.
Of the stuff you see, a lot of get an old Mach 5 out there dropping oil slicks and things.
That would be a lot of fun.
So you can see where the possibilities of having two categories of things you drop, things you run over and things you run into, are the two broad categories of drop weapons, and that's kind of how they're going to interact with the cars. Mm-hmm. So things you drive over, what about things you drive into?
Which we haven't actually had to do as much other than other cars. People know kind of what, generally when you hit another car, you're doing a ram, you're stopping your movement, and you're rolling damage against each other.
There's a collision.
There's a collision that happens whenever you hit stuff. Certain things, though, cause different types of collisions necessarily. Like there's different obstacles, essentially.
Right. So in the world, if what you've been seeing so far are car collisions. In the world of obstacles, cars, I believe, count as a heavy obstacle.
Yes.
Which means they are something that when you hit a heavy obstacle, you lose the rest of that point of the movement. You resolve collision damage, and then you can continue moving and pushing through it.
Exactly.
That's how a heavy obstacle works. And that's going to be the same as if it's a car, if it's
a wreck.
Or
if it's some piece of terrain that you've put out there. If you want to customize your board and have like, this is a rock over here, and this rock is a heavy obstacle, but when you hit it, you can push through it.
So there's heavy obstacles. There's also light obstacles, which are things that you can hit, but there is a collision that happens there, but it is a collision that only the light obstacle takes damage from.
Yes.
And then you will push past it. I believe you don't lose the rest of the point of movement.
No, you don't. You don't lose any movement. You keep pushing through it. Yeah. In addition, if they get pinched between something, they can get pushed. They can get blown up essentially.
If your colliding with a light obstacle.
And it hits another.
And push this light obstacle into another, I think, heavier, greater obstacle.
I believe that's the case.
We'll have to check it for sure. Push it into another obstacle, probably that's not a light obstacle.
Yeah.
We'll check to be sure on that.
Yeah.
Then that obstacle is actually just going to get destroyed. As a note, I have word that pedestrians count as light obstacles.
There are going to be other rules that go along with pedestrians, but yes, they will pop.
The category they fall into is light obstacles.
So that is a thing. So light obstacles could be an assortment of things. Could be things you customize the map with if you have them, but it might be something else.
Or a traffic cone, or some sort of objective that you want to happen if you're having, like, again, a lot of these things are going to come into play when you're doing specific scenarios. Like,
Exactly.
you've got to avoid all the barrels or minus a point if you're doing some sort of like driving skill tournament that's also blowing each other up. There's a lot of things you can provide.
Exactly, and so one thing to note: so damage rolls with these, I want to specify, are going to be based on your speed. So if I'm going speed 2 and I hit the light obstacle, I would roll 2 dice, and that's how much the light obstacle takes. So in this case, they take 2 damage.
Right.
If I ran into another car or a heavy obstacle, essentially, you're rolling the dice and everyone's taking damage.
Right. The person causing the collision takes it first, and then the obstacle takes
exactly.
it. If it's something that can
take damage. If it's something that can take damage. If it's something that doesn't take damage, then you just get hitting yourself.
Right. And there's one more category of obstacle, and that is past the heavy obstacles, there are walls.
Which I'd say is the most static of obstacles.
Yeah,
but you can throw in walls. You can actually customize your field if you want to put your own walls.
Absolutely, yeah. So if the edge of this road were a wall, it's still a collision.
Here, we'll use a turning key for that.
We use a turning key.
There you go.
So we're calling this a wall. So if I'm driving along and I collide with that wall, walls behave in collisions mostly like heavy obstacles in that you do lose the rest of that movement point.
You stop.
You lose the rest of that movement. You
stop and you lose the rest of that movement point.
Collision damage happens, but generally only to you, only to the one doing the colliding. Unless the walls generally don't have
a statistic for
like that, or they've got a high one. They can take some damage. So generally, they're not going to take any damage unless you specifically set it up to. And then movement, since you cannot push a wall, this is where they become different from heavy obstacles. A heavy obstacle you can push with a car just like you would another car. Walls don't go anywhere. So what happens if you actually come into contact with a wall and have movement left to finish? You are going to take your turning key and you're going to put it on the side farthest away from the wall, on the back side of your car, or on the side of your car away from what was approaching the wall. If you're backing into the wall, you'd obviously flip this around. But in this case, if I'd hit the wall this way, after I resolve the damage, I'm going to put the turning key on the corner that's away from the wall and pivot a 90-degree turn out. I don't think there's any change in speed, but let's check that.
Don't believe so on that one.
And then you would finish the...
Sorry, we got the rules set out here.
And you're not making a roll for that particular maneuver, because it's not a maneuver. It's you bouncing off the wall. And is that exactly realistic?
You'll lose a movement point. You also pay a control on that. That's something we didn't.
Because it's a collision.
Yeah, and we should have mentioned that with the other one too. When you collide with a heavy obstacle, you're going to lose control as well.
But you will pivot this 90 degrees out, and that's not very simulationist of what's exactly going to happen when you hit the wall. But what it does do is it gets you, you get penalized for that collision. You're going to get turned around quickly, but you're also going to get back to play relatively quickly there.
It's kind of like you're bouncing off the wall.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a way of you bouncing. You are in theory trying to avoid it, bouncing off at some. That's how we've chosen to model that. Now there is one more scenario, and that's
not a scenario you want to be in.
Not a scenario you want to be in, but say you were driving to hit a wall. Oh, let's use something else for this other wall. Let's use this card for the other wall. And I collide with this wall in a corner, and I need to go ahead. I've done my collision. I need to spin out from the wall.
I think you actually gave yourself enough
I
room
do
there.
my 90 degree, and I've come into contact with another wall here. If that happens, you are officially stuck.
Yeah.
You stop the movement there, and what you're going to do at that point, you set your car's speed to 0.
That's a severe penalty.
It's a severe penalty. You set
You
your car
lose
to
all your control.
lose all your control. Your car goes to 0 speed, and you move it back 2 car lengths.
It's like you have to go full reverse on it.
So that is, we figured, again, this is not perfectly modeled behavior. What it does do, though, is it means we penalize you by losing all the rest of your control, by taking your movement speed down to 0, so you're out there, you're a sitting duck.
You're essentially taking your turn. You're saying, okay, I've stopped. I've screwed up really bad, and now I'm going to have to get back and fight. But you're just dead for that turn.
Right, but what we aren't making you do is make you take the next 2 turns to try to bounce out of this and maneuver around.
You're going to have to do some harsh turns to get out of there.
Yeah, it would. And well, with the maneuvers and slides, it gets really tricky, and it would take you multiple turns to get out of that particular scenario. So what we decided to do instead was punish you pretty heavily, but get you back into the game.
Yes.
Because it's not fun to be stuck there for 2 turns, doing nothing but trying to get out of the corner.
Yeah, it's not a corner rubbing simulator. It's a shooting and running.
Right.
It's
So we want to get you back to the action of the game, but we still want to make sure you're penalized for it. So that is how being stuck in a corner would work. Between any 2 walls, anytime, or if you just hit 2 evenly, same thing would happen.
That's probably going to be the
can't
scenario
make
that's going to happen the most. Is someone goes directly in a corner for some reason on accident.
Well, you'll get one way or the other, but basically you won't be able to make that 90-degree turn out of it.
Exactly.
And so you'll be stuck, automatically trigger, slamming it to 0 speed and dropping it backwards.
And remember, this generally the outside of a board is represented by walls, even though they might not physically be walls.
Most of the time, that's how we've been doing the scenarios.
Yes.
Is to consider the edge of the arena as walls, just for the purposes of not having people just drive off into nothing.
Exactly. And also, generally, you can add these walls to your game, similar to heavy obstacles, live obstacles, things like that.
Right. Now, one other thing that we were going to talk about today, these are all things you can run into or run over. But if you have a wall between you and me, can I shoot you? And the answer is going to be, it depends on what cover rating that obstacle has. Because most obstacles are going to have, from a particular cover rating, they're going to provide a light cover or heavy cover, I believe are the terms we're using.
Yeah, I want to say that's correct on that.
We'll double check, but I believe there are 2 categories of cover.
Partial cover.
Partial cover and full cover. There we go.
I want to make sure we use the right words.
You may have seen this in some of our games already, but partial cover, an obstacle that provides partial cover works like this. If Hunter, if you are yellow and I am blue, since those are the sides we're sitting on here.
There we go.
And I want to shoot you. I have to be able to draw a line from the square part of the base of my car. Make sure I'm in the shot here. I've got to draw a line from the square part of the base of my car to your car that doesn't go through full cover. So in this case, the cars provide partial cover. There's nothing else out here. So I can definitely draw a line to you that
crosses.
That does not cross through full cover.
Yep.
So I can shoot you.
Yep.
If you can draw a line from anywhere on the square part of your base to anywhere on the square part of mine that goes through something that provides cover,
partial cover,
you'll get it. In this case, a car provides partial cover, so you could say, okay, even though you could draw this line, you'd say, but I can draw this line, so I get partial cover from this.
And just to make a note, cars, when he's saying cars provide partial cover, it's not because it's partially here. It's just, that's a rule in the game. Cars provide partial cover.
Yeah, cars are an obstacle that cars are a heavy obstacle that provides partial cover.
Yeah, there's a few different designations that you'll see on the actual terrain once we get it out in token form that will show you that.
Yeah. So in this case, for partial cover, the defender is going to get 1 free shield result added to their die rolls.
Not a reroll, it's just free shield.
Free shield. Now, if this were instead,
say this is a wall with full cover,
and the marker on it will designate it provides full cover.
Yep.
So if I wanted to shoot you now, I actually can't draw a line from my car to your car that does not go through the full cover, so I can't shoot you.
Can be drawn without. Yeah, there it is. Yep.
Now, say the wall was here.
Oh yeah.
Move it back a little bit. I can draw a line to you that doesn't go through that, so I can shoot you. But again, you can draw a line from your car to mine that does go through that cover. So you would get the cover bonus for that obstacle, in which case a full cover gives 3 shield results.
3 shield results. That's a lot. It's already hard enough to hit people.
Right.
So once you start getting cover in the game, it starts getting really interesting.
Say we have this scenario.
Oh, good Lord.
Like, I want to shoot you. And I'm here and say, okay, well, look, I can draw a line to you that doesn't go through full cover. So I get to shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
You say, okay, you get to check for everything that you can draw a line through. So I can draw a line from my car to your car that goes through this car, which gives you partial cover. So you get 1 for that one. You can also draw a line that goes through this full cover.
3
so
for
you
that
get 3
one.
for that one.
4
4
shield
automatic
results.
shield results because I'm trying to thread the needle between those things.
Yeah.
Same thing would be if it was 2 cars, then you could get 2 shield results if you could manage it. So
that's cool.
That's the way to simulate all this stuff. So if you want to have a very maze-like twisty-turny arena with a lot of partial shots, you can do that.
Barriers, walls, things like that.
Barriers that do partial cover, walls that do full cover. You can set up a whole arena like that. It's going to be slower driving through it. It's probably going to be a longer game because more of those hits are going to be blocked, unless you're also doing really big damage guns.
It might be something to keep in account because, again, we've been playing lower point games. Once you get into maybe the higher point, 30-point games or something like that.
Or if were I personally building for that scenario, I might go, you know what? I can afford to skimp on structure and other defense stuff because there's going to be, and just try to use the arena itself. True. If it's a really heavily obscured arena, try to use the arena itself.
I shouldn't do that.
Cover.
You're tempting me, but no.
You should totally do that, and I'll come up behind you with a very large gun.
That's fair. That's exactly what would happen. And I'd be like, oh, this is how you back out of a corner in the wall when you've rammed me into it.
Back out of the corner. Oh, no control? Here, have my laser.
I think that's all we had for obstacles and stuff. I think that's
that covers. So, do you guys out there have any questions on those? Because those are basically the 3 major things that we're talking about today: terrain, obstacles, and cover.
They've got questions.
They've got questions.
I'm sure that's what we're looking for.
Mr. Awesome on YouTube asks, do cars that cover your target take damage then?
They do not. No, they do not take damage. You are assumed the free shield result is basically adding to the difficulty of the roll to hit you. So you are assumed to be trying to target your actual target and not just fire indiscriminately at everything in that direction.
Yeah.
Foxden Racing asks, is there a completely blocked line of sight terrain type like a very tall wall?
So that's what pretty much if you're a full cover terrain, what he was saying, this question might have come in before you explained it, but a full cover terrain is essentially that where it's completely blocking your line of sight if it's covered between both of you guys.
Right. So in this scenario, if this was a full cover wall, I would have no shot on yellow because I cannot draw a line to him that doesn't go through.
But it has to follow the line of sight rules.
If this were a short wall that only provided partial
cover, yeah,
I could totally shoot him.
The designation is partial cover and full cover. That's what's going to matter. Partial, you're always going to be able to draw some form of line of sight through.
Right.
Full cover, you need to actually check line of sight on that.
Ray Fay wonders if on a head-on collision, do you get to pick the direction that you rotate?
Into a wall. So if you head on into a wall, and it's absolutely 50-50 one way or the other, usually we'll check the rule book, but usually what we've been doing for most things is if it's real close, like on a firing arc, or real close on a direction, or real close on what side did that hit. Defender would choose. So we would say probably yes, you would get to choose.
Probably a choice on that. I don't see that on there. We'll have to ask Sam and Randy to see what the indication is.
But generally the way most rulings have been going is if it's real close, defender gets to fairly choose if the table agrees.
It's going to be, I will say it's going to be really hard for it to be completely 50-50 just because of the rounded nature of these bases. It would be easier if it was just a flat thing. You'd be able to be like, bam, it's head on. Since it's rounded, you should be able to kind of tell basically, kind of almost like a clock. You can kind of tell where this is pointed to.
Yeah, one's going to be a little bigger than the other. Like it should be easy to tell, but if it is really straight head on, everyone goes, yeah, that's head on. Then you just agree to
make a choice. Because either way, it's going to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
If you're hitting a wall.
Big Merle on Twitch wondered, can I punt a light obstacle and make it go flying?
When you push, it actually there's a specific rule about that. It's not making it, unless there's a special rule to the obstacle, you will actually push it with your car.
Yeah, in general, if this is a light obstacle, let me make sure I'm in frame here. If this die is a light obstacle, then what's going to happen if I hit it? Say I'm driving this way.
Just head on.
Say I'm aiming for this line and I hit it. I'm going to finish my movement here, and then if I have another move, I will say, all right, I'll just keep moving. And just like any other collision, it's going to go where it goes.
Yeah.
So in this case, it'll rotate off the side of that car. If I slide into it, maybe, and I'm going this way.
But you still, but it specifically will tell you you don't fling it. Essentially, you're not trying to fling the obstacle. You'll push it in a normal pattern.
Yeah, it'll push just like any other collision. It pushes where it ends up and where it goes.
And again, if it pinches between two things, it might blow up. Depending on what it is.
Generally, if you get a light obstacle between two heavy obstacles or heavy obstacle on a wall, it's going to pop and be destroyed.
And there might be other reasons for it to be destroyed.
Yeah, there may be other specific to scenarios. They may say, oh, if you hit one of these things, it moves your speed and car lengths away. You could totally design a scenario like that for super. Traffic cones made out of flubber. I don't know.
Have any more questions over there?
That looks like all so far.
Okay. But yeah, we kind of wanted to make sure you guys got a feel for this part of it because we know people like to think about designing their arenas.
Custom arenas are
the
a thing.
Scenarios they're going to be working on. So we wanted you guys to know that these elements are in the game, even if you haven't seen them yet in our demos, because we don't have any terrain or arenas built up or anything yet. So,
and we're still playing with we're trying to get people in a zone where we can learn the game well and effectively. So we don't have drop weapons and stuff like that yet. So there's still stuff that's coming that hasn't been thrown in yet. So we're really kind of building up to that. So I do want to say, if y'all have any other questions, definitely drop them in here. We're actually going to have game day tomorrow. And then closed for the holidays. So this will be the last time before kind of the end of the project to ask the questions here.
Because we're not back till the 2nd, I think, which is going to be after a Wednesday.
Yeah, but the Kickstarter will be checked, obviously. If you have any other questions on there, you can post on our Kickstarter page. Check out the Car Wars Kickstarter, obviously. Oh, got one.
We got one last question.
Okay.
With stacking cover, if the sequence was car, partial, car, would all that stack up? Yeah,
so the car. So you're saying car and then two pieces of partial in between the car is what they're saying?
Yeah. Right. For every basically it's.
So let's say yellow and red are shooting at each other, and these two cars are in between them.
Yeah, it's the lines that the defender can draw. So if I can draw a line that goes through 2, then I will get two
bonus shields since it's two pieces of partial cover.
Yeah,
so
for every obstacle I can draw a line through that. Every obstacle I can draw a line through.
So exactly how you say it. Yes.
Yeah. So that would be 2. This would also be 2 because I can draw separate lines there and there
that go through it.
That go through the cars.
Yeah. So exactly how you said it there. It works just that way.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's generally what's coming. We do have some more videos coming that use the terrain rules a little bit more. We haven't, like I said, we have not used dropped weapons yet. We haven't used the obstacles yet because these things are still getting new stuff printed. We don't have tokens for it.
We do have a few on this map that we've done with the actual terrain rules.
A couple matches actually. I don't think that have been posted yet.
We've got several more videos that are still in editing they're
they're on the way.
That we've been edited down that are on the way. Those should be continuing to come through over the holidays.
Yep.
So you guys will see more gameplay, see more of our builds.
You got content even if we're not in
some more.
No, that's not how that went. But no spoilers. But
there's multiple games that's happened, and I'm not spoiling anything.
Wait a second. So yeah, we'll have more content over the holidays, even if we're not actually in the office. And then once it comes back around, hopefully have some more stuff coming. We have some plans for some interesting video content for Car Wars that we're really excited about.
Yeah.
And once we get more components printed for us that are representative of that stuff, maybe we can start adding more things like obstacles and drop weapons and things like that. So get more complicated cars.
Right. Get some more complicated interactions going on, so you guys can see how it's going to play out. But there's a lot of gameplay coming through. The cars you guys designed, that match should be coming, we hope, relatively soon.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
A fun one.
We're going to film one more before we go out of town, I believe.
Yep. I won't be there for that one, but I expect it to be very very action packed based on the crew.
It should be. Yeah, it should be interesting. We'll see. We're going to fight Randy again.
Yeah, have fun with that. You know the rule. Shoot Randy first.
Last question, Jimmy. Is your mustache real?
My mustache is totally real.
It's prosthetic.
I I originally did that for a theater show I was in, and then got rid of it. And people told me I needed to go back to it, so I did. But yeah, no, it's a real mustache. It would be a pain to glue that on for every live stream.
You would though.
I would.
You would definitely do it. So, anything else coming through, Brandon?
I like a Snapchat filter. Just put it on for me.
It's
maybe.
Jimmy's. We need a Snapchat filter for Jimmy's face.
That way everybody can have one.
That would be amazing. I would do that Snapchat. That would be the one Snapchat filter I did. Well, guys, if that's all the questions we have, if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them below if you're seeing this after the fact.
Drop
or something.
them in the comments. Drop them on the Kickstarter. Go back to Kickstarter. We just hit some more stretch goals.
Two, I think, yesterday.
Two yesterday. So we were at the $500,000 mark, which unlocks, I believe, miniatures pack 4 now.
There's a lot of minis.
So there's an add-on pack of minis you can get with minis and cards and stuff. And the base game is up to 10 cards now. 10 cars now. More than 10 cards.
Sorry, what was that, Brandon?
We have one more thing, Brandon?
Nope. I was just going to say that.
Okay.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, go check out the Kickstarter. Make sure you are backing at the level you want to back at to get all the cool stuff you want to get. Hopefully we can get the rest of those stretch goals knocked out over the holidays and have everything done by the time we get back.
Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah, have a good holidays for whatever you happen to celebrate.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys live in the new year again. Take care.
See you in 2020.